Richard the Lionheart, the warrior king. In the year 1157, on the 8th of September, a boy was born in Oxford, England, to the mighty royal house of Plantagenet. His name was Richard, and though he would rule for only a few years, his legacy would live for centuries. He would be called many things: king, crusader, hero, but history would remember him best as Richard the Lionheart. Richard was the third son of King Henry II of England and the fiery and formidable Eleanor of Aquitaine, one of the most powerful women in medieval Europe. If you want more information on Eleanor of Aquitaine, we have a whole video on her power and political strength. Go check it out. I will try to give a link in the description or video. With his mother's sharp wit and his father's fierce will, Richard grew up in a family torn apart by ambition, rebellion, and betrayal. His elder brothers were heirs to the throne, but fate had something else in store for Richard. Educated in Aquitaine, in southern France, Richard was raised more as a French noble than an English prince. He was taught the ways of the court, poetry, languages, and war. Even as a teenager, Richard was renowned for his bravery and skill in battle. He led his first army by the age of 16, putting down rebellions in his own lands. The Plantagenet family was anything but peaceful. Richard frequently clashed with his father, and even joined his mother and brothers in rebellion. Yet, despite the family strife, he emerged as the strongest of Henry's sons. When both his older brothers died, Richard became heir to the English throne. He ascended as King Richard I in 1189, at the age of 32. But Richard had little interest in ruling from a throne. He dreamed instead of glory on the battlefield and saw his destiny not in Westminster, but in Jerusalem. Soon after his coronation, he answered the call of the Third Crusade, launched to reclaim the Holy Land after Saladin, the great Muslim leader, had captured Jerusalem. Richard, alongside King Philip II of France and the Holy Roman Emperor, marched to the east. He sold lands, emptied the royal treasury, and even imposed a Saladin tithe on his subjects to fund the journey. On the Crusade, Richard proved himself a brilliant general and a fearless warrior. At the siege of Acre, and especially at the Battle of Arsuf in 1191, his leadership was legendary. He earned respect even from his enemies. Saladin and Richard, though never meeting in person, fought with a mutual chivalry rare in medieval warfare. But despite his victories, Richard could not recapture Jerusalem. Political divisions and lack of reinforcements forced him to negotiate a truce with Saladin. Christian pilgrims could visit the Holy City, but it would remain under Muslim control. In 1192, Richard began his journey home, but he never reached England directly. Shipwrecked and disguised, he was captured by Leopold of Austria, a former rival during the Crusade. Richard was handed over to the Holy Roman Emperor, who demanded an enormous ransom. Back in England, his mother Eleanor worked tirelessly to raise the money. The English people were heavily taxed, 150,000 marks, an astronomical sum at the time. After over a year in captivity, Richard was released and returned to his realm. But he spent only 6 months in England throughout his entire 10-year reign. He considered it simply a source of revenue for his wars. His heart and his power lay in France, where he continued to battle his former ally-turned-enemy, King Philip II. In 1199, while besieging a small castle in Chalus, in central France, Richard was shot by a crossbow bolt. The wound, though not immediately fatal, turned gangrenous. As he lay dying, he pardoned the young archer who shot him. On April 6, 1199, Richard died, just 41 years old, having ruled for a decade but lived as a legend. He was buried at Fontevraud Abbey in France, beside his father and mother. His heart, however, was interred in Rouen, in Normandy, and his entrails in Chaluz, scattered as if symbolizing the divided lands he ruled and fought for. Though he spent little time in England, Richard became an enduring symbol of chivalry, courage, and kingship. Songs were sung about him, and legends grew. Most famously, tales of Robin Hood, who fought in his name. His nickname, Coeur de Lion, the Lionheart, was no empty title. Richard was a king who lived for battle, died by the sword, and earned the respect of both friend and foe. For more interesting history on England, subscribe.